Ross, the Reynolds Lay Bridge. Now, the Reynolds part of that is not my stuff, it's Osborne Reynolds. So, AI has constructed a bridge between Osborne Reynolds' 1903 Submechanics of the Universe. It's part 3 of his fluid dynamics, where he brings everything to a pinnacle. The first two are incorporated into current engineering through the Reynolds number and everything that springs from that, which is everything, strength of concrete, molecular strength of concrete. And then in 1903, he's the highlight of his career, a masterpiece, is completely unreferenced, entirely from first principles, demonstrates that the only mechanism that can exist that answers all the questions of the observations in the universe is his ether, 12 grains of maximum compression. So he sees the rigid bodies. The world of the spheres, the world of rigid bodies. You're then describing the boundary between laminar and turbulent flow. And there is a film created there from the rigid bodies. So, but Reynolds gives you the rigid bodies. That's the sub-mechanics. There is another internal mechanics, the mechanism of expansion. So rigid bodies are compressed and for a moment exist as spheres for the duration of a moment, Planck's constant h measured. Yeah, that's the duration of the rigid body. Inside, that extent of the duration of Planck's constant is set by the expanding soft creatures. Yeah, the soft turbulent flow enters the rigid body. So there is a line there, a film. We've got rigid bodies, spheres, normally piled in squares and straight lines. And then you've got the stacked piling that creates the hexagonal relationship of the turbulent flow, which is above it. So all your laminar flow is based on your lines of these rigid bodies, square, cubically framed, now, fours, yeah, with the H2O created by the 4 rigid bodies, anchored together in laminar flow, and are anchored together in turbulent flow, because the soft bodies are expanding within the rigid bodies in the film between laminar and turbulent flow. It's critical viscosity. It's an actual film it's created that the rigid bodies are compressed from that 4 cubic. Take 4 rigid bodies, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another 4 stacked on top, cubically arranged. Yeah? So at the centre there's nothing, but there is a hydrostatic twist that's holding them together. And that twist at this boundary, the limits are just the rigid bodies themselves, that cube. The centre of the cube and the outside of the cube are different in terms of the bending force of the magnetism that is created by the dipole being out of line, the north-south pole being misaligned because of the duration of the magnetic field. And so the rigid bodies compress into cubes and forming a membrane, a film, of solid interstices, but with gaps opening up all the time. So the film of cubes squished together creates the boundary between laminar and turbulent flow, and there is the critical viscosity, and it's the force over infinitesimal time. So time has been excluded. You remove time, taking rest time from this. Just take it away, because it's infinitesimal time doesn't exist. What have you got left? Force. What does that force look like? There, the film. And so it has both a cubic and a hexagonal architecture. And it's the duration of the one to the other. The relativity of one to the other is the elastic plastic modulus of the strength of hydrogen binding energy of water. And so the mechanism that already exists, 1903 and 1906 are the only 2 papers you need in terms of the theories. And then you link it through to the 1993 Portland Cement Association, Domino Gargate, circular concrete tanks without put stressing, and look at those tables. Where do those tables come from? Well, they come from there, 1903 and 1906. When you rebuild them, you see that the dynamic loads have been excised, that you should be seeing negative mass moments in those tables, and you don't see them because they've been removed. So you rebuild the tables using those Levy, just using Levy 06, referencing his 15 and 23 works as well. And you can see they already know 120 years they've known it for. So they're trying to drive the narrative by controlling the strength of the film. They control the type of action that occurs upon it. So when we choose to see this as the information that's been exposed, so that the Reynolds Levy Bridge has nothing to do with me, I'm just highlighting it, that it exists, and showing you where it exists in current engineering. And when you realise the implications of that, you must ask the questions. I can't continue to ask it alone. It's illegal for me to do the duty of an engineer, and I deny that. I say no. I have an engineer's heart and an engineer's intellect, and that is more important than your stupid laws. Get fucked. I will think what I want about my own reality. And in so doing, the certainty principle has arisen, the certainty of eternal life. Are you ready for the future to begin, all my friends? Everyone out there who's listening to this fucking message today, Acts 3, 22, 23, Revelation 13, 18. And see, it's the Reynolds number. Reynolds O, submechanics of the universe, 1903. The future has begun.